Hi everyone, welcome to Go Local Live. I'm Go Local News Editor Kate Nagel. Thanks for tuning in this Wednesday afternoon. Would like to thank Laura Afonso for hosting a super fun food and more show. But now we're going to talk a little politics for a special Wednesday edition with the newly elected chair of the Rhode Island Republican Party, Susie Yankee. Thank you for coming back in today.
Thanks, Kate. Thanks for having me.
Well, I appreciate it. We've had you here in studio when you had the hat on as the head of the East Greenwich Town Council. But when did you really decide that you wanted to toss your hat in to take control of the party in general and said, I really want to be in contention for the chairwomanship of the Rhode Island GOP?
Well, it was just a decision. A bunch of people had approached me and said, I think you've got the skill set. Great leadership style, you're easy to talk to, you listen, and those are great signs of a leader. What would you think? So I thought about it, and I said it was at a turning point in my life where some things were changing, and I said, okay, let me jump into the battle, let me see what is going on, and I took on the challenge to run for chair.
So it was a pretty contentious battle for the top leadership position. I mean, talk with us a little bit about emerging victorious. I mean, what were really the dominating discussions and debates amongst those candidates for the future of the Rhode Island GOP?
Well, I disagree with you to say that it was contentious. What we had was initially 5 individuals that were running for the elected office. But then one gentleman dropped out, so there were 4 of us. And the nice thing was that we traveled through the state together, and we all learned a lot about each other. And after the vote, and even before the vote, we all agreed that it didn't matter who became chair, because whoever became chair was going to have the support of the other 3. Because we all have strengths and weaknesses, and we were going to best utilize those strengths and weaknesses to move the party forward. So it was a really nice event on Saturday that even though I became the chair, that the other people had stepped up to the plate and said, what can we do to help? Where do you see me fitting? And I have spent the week talking with them and evaluating the best place to place them to get the party to move forward.
We have seen a little bones of contention. The former gubernatorial candidate, Mayor Alan Fung's wife, having some issues with the direction of the party. What do you say to that?
It's just disappointing. So that's the only thing I have to say about that. But everybody else, we're moving forward in a really good, unified direction. So happy to do that.
So let's talk big picture. Let's talk about statewide offices first. You know, back in the day, they had John Chafee, Claudine Schneider, Ed DePreet, and now we've seen an election cycle, no GOP in the statewide offices. Obviously 2 gubernatorial cycles with a Democrat at the head of the state. What's going to be needed to get the GOP back in statewide offices?
Well, basically, we're not going to focus in on that. The next 2 years and the job of the state party is really to get people elected to the General Assembly. That is where the meat of the business of the state happens. It happens in the General Assembly. So our sole focus for the next 2 years, and the sole focus really of the state party, should be getting members elected to the General Assembly. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to recruit candidates. We're going to train candidates. We're going to get them ready to run races in 2020 so that they can go up to the State House. The interesting thing is, for the past 80 years, the Democrats have controlled the General Assembly, and there's no checks and balances, and that's not good for anybody. It's not good in a democratic state to have only one issue. You know, in order to have a thriving state, we need to have 2 sides, and we need to be able to debate issues, and that's not going on right now. So our job is to get more people with the Republican view up there at the State House, and let's really have good debates about all the issues. And that's what's going to make it fun, interesting, and I'm excited about going out and getting candidates for those races.
And let's talk a little bit about the geography of the GOP, and specifically let's talk inner city GOP politics as well. What is it going to take to be successful, to be able to really grow that GOP presence and potentially at the Assembly in the urban cores? You know, take for example President Donald Trump talking about the success economic and job-wise for Black Americans, for Latinx Americans as well. How is that going to translate here in Rhode Island, and what is the party going to do to bring a diversity in, and again to translate into races and wins for the Assembly?
Yeah, that's a great question, Kate. And quite frankly, we need to be visible in these communities, and we need to speak to issues that speak to them. What we're going to focus in on is what's happening across the state. You know, we are spending so much money in taxes, and I have a tagline that I say, what's left in your wallet? And that should resonate with everybody across the state. You know, you don't have enough money left to pay for, to get a car, to do anything to your house, to pay for your apartment, because you've got to pay the overwhelming tax bill. That's the one bill that isn't going away, and it's escalating. If you see what is happening with the population in our state, you know, we have the young from 21 to 30. They're the largest population that's leaving. The next group is our seniors. They're leaving. But yet the governor has introduced a budget of $10 billion. Well, who's paying for that? It's more and more money coming out of your pocket, and that should resonate with everyone. The other thing for the urban core is, let's look at our test scores in our education, and education is critical to success. Well, if you have parents up in Central Falls, I'd be a little worried right now because only 3% of our students up there are reading at grade level. If you cannot read, then you cannot be successful. So in order to be successful, you need to make sure that those things are in place, that the students can read. And lastly, where are the jobs? So you want to talk about jobs? We overregulate and overtax the businesses here, so they're not moving here. How do we make it more attractive? We've got to roll back some of those regulations so that the businesses can have money so they can employ the peoples in the inner city. And that's what we're going to focus in on for the next 2 years.
So do you think, what you saying, are you looking to have more of a big tent approach, if you will, for the party? Are you looking to grow the numbers? Or, you know, is this the party of Donald Trump and perhaps a little more narrow?
Well, I think that we have to realize that Donald Trump is a national candidate. But quite frankly, we're talking about what's going on in Rhode Island. And what's happening in Rhode Island is, again, the Democrats have controlled the state for 80 years. So Donald Trump is not responsible that the businesses are 45th throughout the country. So we really need to focus in on what's happening in your neighborhood, what's happening in your city and town, and what's happening in the state. And the picture doesn't look good. So yes, we want people to focus in on what's in your wallet, what's left in your wallet. It's become very taxing to be a Rhode Islander.
So what are the next steps? Again, fresh off the election, are you literally going down the roster of making phone calls of who to recruit for the General Assembly?
So yes, I'm actually putting together a team because this isn't a one-person job. You know, I said Saturday I'm not Superwoman. So what I need to do is get my executive team together. And in that, there'll be a campaign recruiter, there'll be an outreach director, there'll be a nominating committee, there'll be a fundraising chair. So all those people together, working together towards one goal and seeking out, looking for people that have name recognition, that are already out there in the community. Well, we want to talk to them. So we're happy to talk to anybody that's interested in saying, you know, I don't have money to survive anymore in Rhode Island. So those are the issues that we're looking to push forward. You know, being able to survive, making sure that your children are educated, and making sure that the businesses can stay and thrive here. Because if the businesses aren't here, there are no jobs, there's no money in your wallet.
So you talk about focusing on 2020 for the General Assembly, but of course 2022 when the governor is term limited. Might you take a step back and reapproach that after going through that first 2020 election cycle to see where things stand with the GOP again? Might you say, let's potentially now take a look statewide as well? I know you talked about the checks and balances needed at the assembly level, but it will be an open seat in 2022.
It will be an open seat, but again, the state party, their whole focus has to be on getting members elected to the General Assembly. So my goal, I am singularly focused in on 2020. I'm not going to look ahead to that yet until we get our goal of 2020 more. You know, we say we're striving for at least 25 in the General Assembly and lucky 13 in the Senate. That is our goal, to get more members up there so we can start having influence. Because even if we had a Republican governor, there's nobody backing him up. So he can't get his initiative, he or she could not get his initiative or her initiative passed up at the General Assembly without some support.
So do you think, going back again to who sort of was at the helm back many years ago, again, the Schneiders, the Chafees, Dupree, you know, being able to get the independent votes, being able to even get some of those conservative Democrats as well, is there a potential to, again, tap those circles? I mean, not just from GOP ranks as well, but is there a message out there that does resonate with independents and conservative Democrats?
Yeah, I think that the conservative Democrats, we always say that, you know, Rhode Island had a very Kennedy-esque Democrat. They were basically very conservative. So there really wasn't much difference that you could say between a Republican and a Democrat. But now you see the Democratic Party being pulled so far to the left. They're leaving those conservative Democrats behind, and they're leaving the independents and Republicans. So we welcome you into our party. We want you in our party because there is a home for you. There's no longer a home for you on the Democratic side because they are going towards socialism.
And do you think that you'll have some success with that approach? I mean, I know you talk again about the current president being at the national level, but those Democrats who might be torn to say, well, I don't necessarily support the president, but the message that you seem to be saying is focus here on Rhode Island.
We have to focus here on Rhode Island because we have no control over what goes on in Washington, D.C. We can potentially have some control on what is going to happen here in our home state. So come work with us. Rhode Island is a beautiful state with such a storied history, so we want to stay that way. We don't want our young people to continually walk out the door. You know, I'm the mother of 5, and 4 of my children have left the state already in order to get job opportunities outside the state. I would love for them to be able to come back because it truly is, what a beautiful, beautiful state we live in.
Well, again, since taking the helm since Saturday in the election, is there anything else you want folks to know? I think I've probably put you through your paces a little bit here, but moving forward again with that eye in 2020 and what you want folks to know about the Rhode Island GOP.
What I want you to know is we're open for business. We're enthusiastic. We're ready to hit the ground running. I have a tagline that I say, heels on, gloves off, lead right. What's left in your wallet? There's a better way, and the Republicans have a better way. Come join us.
Well, Susie Yankee, the newly elected chair of the Rhode Island GOP, I appreciate your taking the time to come here into the studio to talk right to you, the viewer on GoLocal Live here. That just about wraps up another day here in the downtown studio. Tomorrow we will be back at the Rhode Island State House, so be sure to check in then as well. And of course, find us on GoLocalProv.com and Facebook throughout the evening and the morning. Have a good Wednesday night, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow. I'm GoLocal News Editor Kate Nagel.